Today is the 7th, a day before supposed to be having court tomorrow. House still full of mold. It's been almost 6 months since the original pipe had busted, and it has since rebusted here about a week ago or so. So the problem was never actually fixed. It was fixed temporarily. In the midst of it being fixed temporarily, there's still water. It smells like mold in here. In the midst of it being fixed temporarily for the few months, there was still water damage the whole entire time. Everything just soaked in fucking water. Apologize for the language. All of this stuff up here. This fucking smells nothing like tree mold. Look at that. Everything's soaked. Water everywhere. Mold still everywhere. But in the midst of it being fixed temporarily until this recent pipe busted again, there was still mold all within the cabinetry from the original time where it had busted. That was never addressed, and then now it's busted, and now there's more water damage and more mold. It smells horrendous in here. Water everywhere, and they're still persisting. I got served yesterday with the contract stating how how we're in the wrong, or I guess I'm in the wrong because I'm having to do this by myself. How I'm in the wrong because I'm not paying for rent. Even though who would pay for rent? Why am I paying $10,000 to a company for a house that I didn't even live in, that I begged to have fixed, and there was mold damage and water damage for months, and almost a month before they actually addressed the problem itself in the beginning of the busted water pipe. Granted, this was like a month after they had took a week to get to our house when we had no electricity in the midst of Texas, deep Texas South heat in the summer. So it was 100 degrees, 100 plus degrees in the house every single day for almost a week straight. Our AC had went out on a Thursday night. So all of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, called every single day. We were supposed to be getting somebody. They were supposed to be expediting it, but you call the number for emergency maintenance request or any maintenance request, and it's just a call center where they send you, and they say that they're going to contact a local, quote unquote, a local contractor to come out, and they're going to prioritize it. You never have contact with this contractor because this company, this third-party company that you call to go to call center, is supposed to be sending a contractor out. Contractors never follow through, so you're sitting here and you're waiting and waiting and waiting. You're calling back this call center. The call center is just telling you the same thing over and over again, and they're saying they're expediting, they're doing all of this to prioritize and everything. In the meantime, nothing is being taken care of. And I had my wife at the time and my 8-month-old at the time and my 3-year-old at the time living in here full time every single day for almost a week straight within 100 plus degrees, and the house was getting into the 90s and almost 100 every single day. The thermostat was maxed out at 99 degrees, and they didn't send anybody out for almost a week. We didn't get it taken care of until they sent a contractor that wasn't even supposed to be coming out for that issue, that was coming out for mold issues that we were having at that time in our restroom, which are also still there, that is not related to this pipe busting in the kitchen. So this mold issue they had came out for, that's still horrible, for supposedly it's foundation problems, but the guy came out and he just put this caulking bead. And while he was here in the midst of doing that, that's what he came out for. He looked over the AC for us because the original people that they had prioritized to come out never even showed up. So this other contractor that was coming here for another issue ended up fixing the AC for us, and it ended up being a breaker issue. So he replaced the breaker and then fixed the AC. And that was about it was from a Thursday night all the way till I believe the following Wednesday is when we actually had the AC back up and running, which is almost a full week. To have a 8-month-old and a 3-year-old and my wife staying home every single day with the temperatures 90 plus degrees in the home, and they just kept blowing it off like it was nothing and saying that they were prioritizing it. And they didn't give us any compensation or any type of credit or anything for our inconveniences at that time. And I wanted to pursue that. And then I was like, it ain't even worth it. Like, I just want to continue on. So that was in May. At that same time, our contract was ending in June 24th, I believe it was, of 2025 for our full 1-year lease contract ending. So I had planned on staying here because up until, besides when we had first moved in, I kind of figured this was going to be an issue because we never had a proper introduction to the home. The property manager was supposed to come out, give us a walkthrough of the home, give us the keys, tell us everything about whatnot that we needed to know about the utilities and services and stuff. No one ever showed up or followed up to do that. We had to take care of everything ourselves through their portal. We did that. We were fine with all that and whatnot. But then we started slowly having issues and having to contact people to get things taken care of within the home because it's not my home. I'm a renter. So I need to get certain things taken care of. I deal with everything, the yard aspect. I deal with the AC filters, everything that needs to be maintained on the renter side, I dealt with myself. But aspects of the property owner and the landlord that needs to be dealt with as a renter, that is one of the points of me getting a rental, is so that these things are taken care of and I don't have to worry about them. Otherwise, I would have went out and bought my own home. But I'm not trying to get into a position of owning a home because I know that those extra costs, I'm not trying to incur and deal with all that. That's one of the main reasons of being a renter. And now here I am having all of these extra things thrown on me. But yeah, they never came through and they never did the introduction. Had problems with the AC and other requests coming up until that point. I had mildew and mold issues before this main water leak in the kitchen now that I'm having the main issues with. And I'm still having mold and mildew issues throughout the home. Now, up until the AC and all that, got past that, and then about a month later in July, I believe it was July 5th, is when I actually put in the maintenance request for this busted pipe. At the time, it was not a, let's say, busted pipe. It was just, there was a point in the ceiling. I had higher humidity levels in the home. There was a point on the ceiling to where I could see something forming, but there was not, it wasn't that big of an issue. It was maybe, I guess, a small leak on the piping or something at the time, and it hadn't fully busted. So you're seeing some damages start to form on the ceiling, and I at first thought it was an AC drain line that had maybe overflowed, and then it was just slowly building up. Checked the AC pans, all the pans were dry. It wasn't an AC issue, and I knew that, and I don't know if that's why they took so long to get somebody out, because they were just bullshitting and didn't think that it was an actual issue and that it was just due to the renter not taking care of the property properly. But they eventually sent somebody out, and I have pictures and videos of when they ripped down the ceiling, because I knew it was going to get to this point. When they ripped down the ceiling up underneath right here, directly center pretty much of this cabinetry and the ceiling. This is a crawl space, probably about 1.5 feet of space in between, or maybe 2 foot between this roof right here, or the ceiling, and the upstairs floor. So my office area was right here in this corner of this upstairs area, arcade room. There's no access to that spot. The only way that you can access that spot is by ripping the roof down. If you go through the ceiling, the garage attic right there, it's walled off right here. There's a wall. So you have no access to anything over here. You only have a little room above the garage that you have access to. You have access to the pan within the garage attic that you have that was dry. And that's the only water source that would have been right here other than piping itself. When they ripped down the ceiling and did all that, it ended up being a busted hot water pipe from the hot water heater that's in the garage behind this wall right here. So the piping goes up, comes over, and it 90s, and it comes back through the house this way. The 90 elbow was a crimp fitting on PEX piping, and it busted. That's what the main leak problem was. And it looks like it failed at the same exact point, and that's where this new leak came from as well. So they had fixed it probably 3 or 4 weeks after I put in the original maintenance request. So July 5th is when I put in the maintenance request. There was already water damage up until that point. That's just when I had noticed it big enough of an issue to put in a maintenance request for it, because I wasn't sure what was going on with it. So put in the maintenance request July 5th, didn't get anybody in the home, but fix it until 2 or 3 weeks later at least. And then once they fixed it, I told them the whole entire process that they were doing it. I was like, I need y'all to, and I have emails and text messages with the contract and with the property manager telling them that I'm worried about the mold formation that I already formed within the cabinetry and then in the ceiling area as well. And that I wanted to replace the cabinetry, and then I wanted to replace the wall, these appliances, this cabinetry down here. And they had told me from FirstKeyHomes side, our contractors will assess the property, and if there's any further damages other than the roof area that they had replaced, then they will go ahead and assess, and they'll bill it out, and they'll take care of those issues. I told the contractors this exactly, and I told the property manager this exactly, and both of them played it off. And the FirstKeyHomes played it onto the contractor, and the contractor said everything was fine. And then they just went on about their business and pretending like just because them fixing this area that they cut out of the ceiling and fixed the PEX pipe, which none of it is fixed anymore, that they were going to be good and not have to replace any of the cabinetry, the appliances, this cabinetry down here, anything that has to do with the wall or the flooring or anything that had water damage. They just left it. And they left it, and I told them, and I messaged them, and I made maintenance requests, and I told them after the fact that we already had the discussion of it being an issue to begin with, and they just continued to ignore me. And this went on I ended up moving out of the house because I was getting no help at all. So I ended up moving out of the house because I didn't feel comfortable living here. Paid $3,000 for movers to move all the furniture that isn't in here right now. But this is everything that's pretty much left in the house. There's that desk, this desk, and some other random items throughout the home. There's stuff in the garage. All the appliances are theirs. And then the stuff that's in the cabinetry. So it looks like a fucking atomic bomb went off in here while all this stuff scattered everywhere because I was just trying to get everything out of here. I paid those movers to get everything out of here. They got all the main furniture. I have a 30 by 10 storage full of all the furniture that I'm paying $350 a month to get the stuff out of here. $4,000 a year almost just to cover the to get this stuff out of this home that I'm having to incur and storage now because I can't have it in a home that they want me to pay rent for while actively having to pay for other housing as well. Like, how make this make sense? Why am I going to pay for something that I can't live in, and just because I'm on the contract but within that contract it says that uninhabitable home is a breach of contract, and this home is uninhabitable? How are you going to put an eviction process on me, send me the contract and tell me, oh, this is why we're evicting you, is because your contract and you're stated that you're on the contract? But then within the contract, it says if the home's uninhabitable, that it's a breach of contract. This home is uninhabitable. And I don't know what other ways how to get this across to this company or to anybody. Like, I'm not paying anything. I'm taking this video because if I end up having to post this online, I'm going to make it public instead of dealing with lawyers and judges and all of this stuff. I'll just make this public and I'll put the company and their name at risk and defame them, because this is ridiculous to have to deal with the company that's doing this just because it's a small neighborhood that they're tending to in this area. And the original issue that they had said when I had finally got a hold of the property manager, and the reason why they didn't do the introduction, or they are behind on taking care of our maintenance requests and all this, is that we're so far out of their jurisdiction of where they typically deal to in the Houston area, because I'm so far east towards Beaumont side that we're just further away. So it just takes them longer to get out here, and that they don't come out here often. Even though this is an ongoing issue with this home, but they have a rental home right here, one across the street. They have multiple across the street, actually, and other ones within this neighborhood. And when these other houses in this small neighborhood start having issues like this, they're just going to do the same thing. So you're going to destroy this whole entire, where there's actual property owners within this neighborhood. You're going to destroy the values of their homes because you want to sit here and put a renter in the position to have to leave a house abandoned like this because you're not tending and doing your job as a landlord. So now I have this little small neighborhood community all judging me because they think that I'm just sitting here not taking care of anything, but this is what I'm having to deal with on the back end. And being told that I owe $10,000, and every single month, $3,000 in rent is stacking up every single month. And they just expect me to pay it because I signed a contract renewal, which I didn't even finish getting to, when I was stating how we had our lease ending in June 24, 2025. Okay, the electricity thing happened in May. I signed for a 2-year lease early, so that would have put us at 3 years. So by the end of it to 2027 for 2024, I signed for a 2-year lease renewal in May. So that was around and a little bit before the AC problem had occurred. I had just signed for a 2-year lease renewal that would have kicked in June 24th. It kicked in June 24th, and I had asked to have them just completely drop it because it was so fresh into a new contract that I was like, look, just in the contract, we'll just cut it clean. I'll go on about my business. Y'all can tend to the house and do what y'all need to, fix it up, do everything properly, and then you can rent it back out when it's set and everything's done. And you don't have to sit here and hold me up. I can go on about my business. I wasn't asking for my security deposit back at that time or anything. I just wanted to cut clean ties and just do my thing, and then them do their thing and not have to deal with this property again at all. And no, they wanted to tell me that I would have to pay $4,000 to $5,000 to get out of the contract. Then I would have to lose my security deposit, and then they would come in, assess any damages or whatnot, seeing that there's already damages, and then they would tag extra cost on for any damages or any items that they would have to move out of the house, any touch-ups that they would have to do for flooring, paint, etc., on top of the paying to get out of the contract. All of this extra costs just for a contract renewal that had just instated 10 days prior to the actual problem occurring. And instead of them just dropping me and letting me go on about my business, here we are 6 months later, still have mold, still have water issues, still have all of these problems. And this company is still sitting here and bullshitting. And now I'm having to go to court tomorrow to have to deal with these issues and have to fight to get an eviction while I can't even live in the home for an issue that was due to the landlord's home. No renter in their right mind would pay out of pocket to rent here and to have to deal with the homeowner's issues when that's the whole point in renting. If I wanted to have to deal with having to go out and get contractors to fix my AC and having to get contractors to come in and demo my home and having to pay for it all out of pocket and then to be put out of the home and still pay for everything, I would just go get a fucking mortgage and do it that way. What is the point of having a rental and a lease agreement and all of this way just to bullshit people into a scam, essentially? Like, as long as everything's smooth and goes smooth and you don't have any issues in your home and everything's good, then you could fucking make it year by year and hit that year lease or 2-year lease and not have to worry about these issues. But then these issues do pop up, and then now this company is sitting here playing stupid. And it's like, so you just banked on nobody having issues with their homes, essentially. And then when they do have issues, you sit here and you try to hold it against them. And then you're going to take them to court and pull them eviction process and hold money against them and all of this stuff for an issue that was due in the home. That's not a renter's problem. Like, it's not my water heater, it's not my piping, it's not my home, it's not my walls, it's not anything. The only thing that I had here is living in this home and my furniture. It's not my piping. If I would have had left on, let's say the home, it was a freeze, and then I didn't properly maintain the home to make it preventable from freezing, and the pipe had busted during a freeze, and then that was what caused the issue. I could see being held liable for that. Let's say there was a valve up there and I left it open or something of that sort, and then now it caused flooding issues. I could see being liable for that. There's so many cases where I could see being held liable for if it was due to the renter or it was an issue that could have been resolved by the renter. All of that is completely ineligible for this situation. I couldn't fix it myself. I couldn't see what was happening myself. It is not something that pertains to my legal and what says in the contract that I have to tend to, such as your AC filters or any regular maintenance items like that. This is something extracurricular that was a literal issue and not just something that was out of just due to improper maintenance. This was an actual piping issue, and I'm sitting here and having to deal with it and being held liable for it. As a renter, 6 months after this all originally went down, in the midst of dealing with a divorce and court as well, and a job switch over as well, transition. So I got my fucking hands full, and I'm not ready to go to court tomorrow to do this shit. I know I have a solid case, but it's the fact that I'm sitting here and having to fight a potentially billion-dollar company and their lawyers by myself. No lawyers or anything would want to. I tried to contact multiple lawyers, and I could not get one within this jurisdiction and this that's familiar with this area and these judges and whatnot that would take my case. So now I'm sitting here and having to fight it myself against their lawyers. And I find that absolutely ridiculous that I sat here and I was an excellent renter, paid my rent early every single month. Everything was tip top. I took care of the yard. I put thousands of dollars into the yard. Now it looks like absolute shit because nobody's maintained it. I put thousands of dollars into the grass, the yard, the flower beds, putting rocking, just taking care of everything. And I was an excellent renter. Made sure that the filters were properly changed and used HEPA filters, MERV 13s. Every single thing. I used air filters within the whole entire house. Like, I try to take proper care as a renter of the home so that when we go to move out, we don't have to incur any extra charges or anything because it's not our property. We were just renting, living there temporarily. But no, even after doing all of that, I'm still getting shit on. And at this point, between my bad experiences and having apartment rentals, I had one apartment experience out of the 3 or 4 apartments that I've lived in where it was a good experience. And I would potentially move back to that apartment. But as far as any other rentals and even home rentals, I don't know if I will ever do this again. This is absolutely ridiculous. If you live in apartments, every single month the management turnover is ridiculous, or within your lease contract terms, your management turnover will probably be high, and then you end up with management different by the end of your term lease, and you're getting charged extra shit, or you're getting extra fines for things because they don't like the way they run things differently, or literally anything. There's so much within apartments, and then that's why I strayed away from apartments and ended up in a home rental. It's because I was tired of dealing with that. And then now I get a home rental, and then my first home rental, this is my experience with it. And now I don't know if I will ever do a home rental ever again, because what the fuck is this? So now I'm currently living in my RV that I purchased to not have to deal with, if I don't like the management at that RV park, I could either go and buy some land and put my RV on some land, or I could go to another RV park and not have to deal with that. I can change my scenery, I can change everything and not have to deal with this bullshit. This absolute bullshit that nobody should have to deal with in the midst of dealing with other shit that should be more important on my plate, such as my divorce or focusing more on my job transition and doing better in that. I'm still having to sit here and fight to not be fucking screwed over by a rental that I haven't even lived in months. Like, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm just taking this as evidence for this whole entire situation that's occurred. And if I ever have to put this public, just understand my frustration. I don't hope anybody has to ever go through this, because sitting here wondering, my credit's already ruined. I had just got all my credit fixed in May. That same as this all started happening, I had just got everything straightened out from the previous years. Just got my credit back lined out. Was sitting almost at 800 credit score. Had just got everything lined out. All my debts paid off. Had one loan that I was working on, and everything else was paid off. Now, since having to incur all these moving charges, extra housing fees, because I did pay for this for months, even not living here, just so that it wouldn't immediately end up in eviction. Just so I could be like, look, I paid for these few months, no one lived here, and I was still paying just to uphold my end of the contract, even though that I was getting screwed over and still having to pay for something I wasn't using because y'all wanted to hold me liable. But even after paying all of that, now my debts have gone through the roof. My credit's ruined, and I may potentially have an eviction on my credit as well and my background, which is going to ruin any future rentals for me, any future purchases, so much future shit for something that I shouldn't even be having to deal with and incur. I should not have an eviction on my credit profile, on my background, because of this issue. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I really hope that the court and the judges side with me, and if they don't, I'm making sure to take all the information and stuff down that I can, so evidence, so that in the future, if I do lose this, I will be getting a top-notch lawyer and coming back and with total vengeance and absolutely doing the absolute most. I don't care if it puts me back. this company will, at the end of the day, pay for these damages that they put on me in the sense of emotional and financial and just the like well-being, so many different aspects of negligence, and just so much has occurred from this that I shouldn't be having to deal with, that now I'm having to deal with and take the stresses from, just to make it day to day. Like if this wouldn't happen, I would still be at the same job. Everything would be the same. I would still be living in this house. All my furniture would be in here. I wouldn't have had to went out and purchase an RV. I wouldn't have had to went out and purchase tons of things to change my lifestyle completely from living in a fucking home to now living in my RV. I wouldn't have had to change anything. But no, all of this occurred because the only thing that I would be dealing with is paying for this home and my divorce. But no, now I'm dealing with the divorce, this home, and a job transition. And most of it stemmed from this fucking problem. And I find that absolutely horrendous. This is so fucking stupid that I'm having to deal with this. And I'm done. I'm done recording. I'll do a quick walkthrough to show all of the stuff that's going to be left in here. Because I do not have the time or means to be able to get all of this stuff. There's some stuff upstairs too.